Hey guys, what is up? It's TCG Fridays and I've got another video for you. Now I've not posted a video in a while, but I want to make videos that are more higher quality as opposed to just putting up lots of random deck lists that may or may not be good. That's not what I want. I want videos that people will watch. Now today's video is about ways of countering 4-axis Fire Fists slash +1 Fire Fists is what they seem to be dubbed with. So this video will be split into 4 parts. It'll be just individual card discussions and things you may want to look out for, combos that, main combos that they've got and ways to sort of get around them. Then you've got cards that you can side deck in against them and cards that they might side deck in against you. Now, before we go on, the whole point of Fire Fists is to create those +1s by using Tenki to search things and then using those things effects to get rid of Tenki and then pop things on your side of the field, and they can do that and eventually gain so much advantage and control that you just can't come back from it. And it's clearly very effective, but with having all these face-up cards in the field, they can be very weak to Exit Night, so you could remember that. Because all those face-up cards count to the amount of cards that your opponent needs to have over you, so Exit Night is going to go for a lot of advantage, as well as the fact that, remember, this is a control deck. They're probably not going to be OTKing you very much. They can make quite big pushes, which is a thing, but generally they won't be. It's not going to be like Heroic Rulers, which either you win or lose. So you can definitely play around this deck, which is at least something. So we'll get on to the individual cards. And first of all, we'll start off with Tenki. So Tenki is obviously the backbone of the deck, and really what you want to be doing is just chaining your MSDs to those Tenkis. That way, Tenki can't go off, they don't get their search, and that's definitely going to slow them down. Next, we can talk about Bear. So Bear goes hand in hand with Tenki. Obviously, Tenki search Bear, Bear's effect, ditch Tenki, pop a monster. It's really as simple as that. But that is quite a powerful play. And generally you don't really want that going off. So when it comes to Bear, you definitely want to be either saving your Veilers for Bear or Solemning Bear, because if you deprison or Mirror Force a Bear, chances are what they'll do is they'll just Forbidden Lance it. That way they can still get their searches off, and that's what Forbidden Lance is there for. So that's a really effective way of them using Forbidden Lance to effectively minus. It's still a it's still a +2, but they're also getting rid of outs to certain things, so you definitely want to watch out for that. Next we can talk about Dragon. Now a lot of people veil or Dragon searching effect just so they don't get Tensin, but there's really no point because Tensin isn't a huge issue in comparison to the other things that they can do. Now for instance, if they opt to use Dragon's revive effect, then you probably want to veil or Fiendish Chain it, but aside from that, don't bother. Keep your Veilers for the Wolf Barks. That chances are they'll play Dragon and then play Tenki. Chances are you'll want to keep your Veiler for the Wolf Bark that they Tenki. So next we've got so with Tensin, you need to remember that they'll probably activate that in the damage step. So you want to try and bait out not as good players. So they'll attack with the monster and then they'll activate Tensin then. And that allows you to, you can play your Mirror Force then, as opposed, so if they attack with a monster and then all I'm saying is just, be wary when they've got the Tensin out, because Tensin is quite tricky to get round because it isn't an equip. So even if you do Mirror Force their monster, but you can still bait it out. And remember, when Tensin's effect goes off, even if Tensin gets removed from the field, their monster still has 700 attack. So, Tensin is a pain in the arse thing to deal with, but, there's ways of playing about it with, try not to leave a monster that they can Tensin over on the field. Obviously, that can be quite hard, but, if you can get a big guy out, then, you're going to be safe from the Tensin. So next we'll be on to Wolfbark. So generally, you want to save your, your Veilers for and your Fiendish Chains for Wolfbark. However, when it comes to Wolfbark, you probably don't want to do that if they have Tense out in the field, because you could Veil or Fiendish Chain the Wolfbark and then they'll just summon another guy and overlay, and then you've just wasted cards on the Wolfbark. So you definitely watch out for that. That's quite tricky because it can be like, one way or the other, but if they go Wolfbark into a big guy, then you might want to Fiendish Chain the big guy, like for instance Tiger King. We'll talk about the combo for that later on as well. So next we've got Card D. Now a lot of the +1 variants don't actually run a dragon, they don't even like tech a dragon. I probably would, and I'll talk about that later on, because dragon can be crazy late game. But when it comes to Card D, that's probably what you want to use your effect veilers on, because even if they, as far as I'm aware, even if you can still chain effect veiler to Card D's effect and it's still negated, or on its summon, you can chain veiler to its summon and then it just stays there and they can't do anything. So yeah, like that's really good, because if the Card D is just in the field, even if they do Tensu, they can't overlay into anything. Card D is just there. It allows you to have that turn to get rid of it. So yeah, that's kind of what you want to be keeping your effect veilers for that. It almost makes me think that you really want to be playing 3 effect veiler, so that way you can just stop your opponent's combos before they go off. But yeah, next after Card, we'll talk about Gorilla. Now they'll probably use Gorilla to bait out a lot of your back row. For instance, a lot of plays can be, though you might have bottomless, and that's like maybe the only thing you've got, and if you don't bottomless the Gorilla, they're just going to get rid of it. So obviously Gorilla's really good for baiting out back row, and chances are you do kind of just need to go with it in that sense, otherwise it's going to be wasted. But remember that Gorilla does need to destroy a monster, for its effect to go off. It's not quite like Bear, which just needs to inflict battle damage. So yeah, Gorilla's a bit harder to play, but they're going to be baiting your stuff out with it, so you need to be wary of that. Next we can talk about Thunder King. Now a lot of the +1 variants of main Thunder King, and Thunder King really does affect pretty much like every deck almost. So really there's no like immediate outs to Thunder King, so you just need to have general removal for it. Obviously Thunder King's quite big, so just it's just there to remember that they'll have the Thunder King. They might set up their turn, do all their searches, and then play Thunder King, and that's going to put you at a disadvantage because then they've got the control. So yeah. Right, now Gyoko is another card that they play, and contrary to popular belief, you can in fact chain to Gyoko. If you have 2 face down cards that are both chainable, obviously, they will use Gyoko on one of them, and then you can chain the other, and then chain the Gyoko target to the one that you just chained to. You can in fact do that. Obviously it's baiting out 2 back row, but it still means that your card is still live. So hopefully when that happens, both cards will actually be effective in some way. So just remember that you can in fact do that. It's not all over when they use Gyoko. So now we can move on to... also with Gyoko, if you know that they have a Gyoko, obviously that can be a real pain to deal with, which might be more of a pain than Tenki. So they say they've already got a Tenki that's went off and you've not had the MST. You can set the MST if you know they've got a Gyoko, because obviously most of the time you'll know what their face down continuous spells are. So you can set the MST, they'll set the Gyoko in their standby phase, you can play your MST and hit the Gyoko, and obviously they can't do anything about it. Obviously you can do the same kind of thing with things like Abyss Sphere or something like that. So so yeah, remember that Gyoko, you can do that to Gyoko, so it's quite easy to play around really when it comes down to it. So next we'll go on to the combos that the deck can do. Now one of the main combos is to loop Wolfbark and Tiger King. So for instance, they'll go with they go like Tenki get Wolfbark, Wolfbark will overlay into Tiger King will get Tenki, they'll take the Wolfbark for the next turn. So they've pretty much set themselves up. Now in this case you don't really want to Veiler the Wolfbark, because like I said, if they have the Tensu, if they have the Tensu, then they can just they can just keep that combo going on. They've only lost they've not even lost a card in that sense, it's just made them do it slightly differently. So yeah, that's kind of a pain when that happens. So really when that happens, you want to be playing Fiendish Chain on, on the Tiger King, or your compulsory or bottomless. Hopefully they won't Forbidden Lance it, but like I said, they'll probably keep their Forbidden Lances for the bear plays. But so yeah, like you want to get rid of the Tiger King itself, but not the Wolfbark. So if they have Tensu, you want to wait for them to get out the Tiger King. Probably most of the time you want to wait for them to get out the Tiger King, but at the same time it can also be good to just stop the combo right there and then with like Fiendish Chain and Wolfbark if they don't have the Tensu. So I mean, I guess that one is kind of up to your own personal call, what you might think is better, but just remember that if they play the Wolfbark and they have the Tensu, they can still go for the Tiger King play, so you've wasted a card. And if they don't have the Tensu, then you can just stop the combo straight there and then by hitting the Wolfbark. So just remember, you've got that option there, but it's, like with anything, it's just got, you've just got the risks involved. So another big combo that the deck has is they can go 10k into Wolfbark again, and then go into Tiger King. Now, instead of getting another 10k, they can go for Tensu, and then they can play Dragon, and Dragon can then pop both Tensu and 10k, get Bear back, and then they can just go fucking plays and pluses for days, which is crazy. Obviously, this kind of thing can really push for game and can really, really hurt you. So this is the stage when really you don't really want to be main decking max E's against this deck. You want to be able to get their, stop their combos before they even go off. But at this stage, this is the only time you really want to be playing max E. So as soon as the Wolfbark comes out, if they've got, this can be seen if they've got like a bunch of cards in hand, and this is a sort of time when they'd want to be pushing for game. If they play the Wolfbark, you'd probably want to ditch your maxi at this point. That way, if they keep going with the combo, they've kind of set you up for the next turn if they don't kill you, and hopefully they don't. So by that logic, they really kind of just need to stop. That way, they've only just evened out with the maxi, and you've stopped their play. So just remember that, like that's watch out for that combo, because it's a really big one. But a maxi, or in fact a Vanity's Fiend, not Vanity's Emptiness, can stop that right there, because they do this like the only time the deck really special summons. Now earlier I mentioned I don't really know why people don't run the Dragon, and this is why, because late game Dragon can be really hard to counter against, because there isn't really an optimal thing to stop it at. So for instance, early game is not really an issue, because they'll just go Dragon, play 10k, get Tensin, and they'll have the Wolfbark. I mean, that's still a really good setup play, but that's really as far as they can go. Now if they've got the Bear in the graveyard at this point, so this is like mid to late game, they can really push. So for instance, if they have a Bear in grave and a Tensu on the field, which isn't exactly unheard of, they can go for crazy shit. So, and this is crazy in the sense that there isn't an optimal thing to stop, like I said. So for instance, they can go Dragon, play 10k or Tensu, get the Tensin, then they can get the Wolfbark. Obviously because of Tensu, they can summon the Wolfbark, get back another thing, or even play Bear or Wolfbark, and then go with Dragon and pop the 2 back row and then get back Bear. So really they can have like 4 monsters on the field or 2 XYZs in the field, and that can be a really big thing to contend with late game, especially when they're doing all this crazy shit. So when your opponent makes this play and tries to go for the Tiger King and Bear combo, so for instance they'll go Tiger King, they could probably have a Bear in the field as well, and then they could use Bear to, they'll get the 10k search again, use Bear's effect to pop something. This kind of thing is like crazy. You're just going to be, shit's going to be wrecking your field for days. So really, the best thing that I could foresee doing this is when they play the Dragon effect to revive something. That's when you would want to chain Veiler or Fiendish Chain to that. That way, the back row is gone and they don't get the revive effect. Now, obviously, if you know for a fact they don't have a Lance, which hopefully they wouldn't, this would be probably the best time to Torrential or keep a Mirror Force. Obviously, Mirror Force is a good time for this, especially if they didn't bring back a Gorilla, because it means that, you know, you're, even if they do lance, you're still going to be hitting at least 1 or 2 things as well. So this combo is probably the worst thing to you know, look out for. Again, this can you know, not be stopped, but comboed with Maxi, you're going to, you know, be drawing a little bit from this. But you definitely want to be watching out for this combo, as it's going to be a real pain to deal with, because, like I said, there isn't an optimal thing to stop, because, you know, you can stop the dragon play, but even if they went for the wolf bark or the bear, they can still overlay for something. So, you know, you might have to spend a lot of resources stopping things just so they don't get their combos off. Hopefully they might overextend a bit too much, and, you know, then you can come back next turn. But I'd say that's one of the main things to look out for. So next we've got things that you can side deck in against. Oh no, and another thing we've got to deal with is Cardinal. Now, Cardinal isn't, you know, it's not a huge problem. Like, Tiger King is probably more of you know, a pain in the arse to deal with than Cardinal is. But Cardinal can be a real pain because it can hit things in your grave, so it's kind of like a transmigration prophecy as well. And it also, you know, gets things back into the deck. With the low monster count, you might need to reload your deck with monsters to get their effects off again. So Cardinal can obviously be, it can be an issue, you know, especially when they're playing it right. But remember that Cardinal does target, so things like that, you know, cards that affect things that do target will also affect Cardinal as well. So just keep that in mind. Okay, so now we'll move on to I think another thing with Cardinal is the fact that chances are they probably wouldn't lance the Cardinal. That's what I'm thinking. Especially the fact that it has low attack, so, you know, I'm thinking that it's probably quite susceptible to removal. Anyway, the things, you know, you can side in a lot of things in against Fire Fists. The issue is, though, that there's no one card that cripples the deck. Like, for instance, you could side in Zombie World against dragons, and that would really slow them down unless they were able to blaster it. So, you know, you need to keep that in mind. However, so you've got Overworked. Now, Overworked is a great option because it will destroy all monsters on the field. Its attack is higher than its original attack. So if they've got like one Tenki on the field and then they overextend with, say, for instance, that dragon combo that I talked about, you know, Overworked is going to just destroy all of the cards. You know, especially if they've got that, you know, the dragon, the bear, the wolf bark, the thing the wolf bark took back out with. Even if they lance, that's still them. You know, that's still them down like 3 cards. So you've +2 out of that. So yeah, Overworked is really good. Obviously, you side in extra Dust Tornadoes just to get rid of Tenkis and Tensus. Not so much Gyokos because, you know, you want to be trying playing around them anyway, but, you know, you can definitely, if they play Gyoko, you can, and they don't hit the Dust Tornado, you can obviously Dust Tornado the Gyoko and you've still got a life card. Next you've got Skill Drain. Skill Drain's obviously great if your deck can run it. Skill Drain will actually cripple the deck pretty hard, obviously unless they Gyoko it, but before, you know, you'll have Skill Drain out before they can Gyoko it. Anyway, Skill Drain is great, but not every deck can use Skill Drain, so if your deck can, then you want to be using it. Also, Eradicate Epidemic Virus can really hit the +1 version because it's quite spell heavy, so, you know, you can keep that one in mind as well. Especially if they can't get their searches, their draws out, then you're going to slow the deck down really hard. The same goes with Mind Crush. Mind Crush is good because it can affect a lot of different decks, not just Fire Fist, but, you know, like, yeah, they do search a lot, but the only time you're going to know what they're getting is with the Tenki, and that might not be enough in your eyes to, you know, justify running the Mind Crush. Mind Crush is great, especially if you can hit a Wolf Bark, because that's just going to stop the play. That's like, you don't even need to waste like Veilers and shit on it, that's just the play is gone. So, you know, it's really good in that sense. Next you've got Mistake. Mistake works just like Thunder King, and Thunder King is also a side deck option against Fire Fist, but Mistake is really good in the sense that, like, you can chain it to Tenki, and then, you know, they've played it, and then then Tenki's kind of just like a dead card really, so stuff like that. It means that their Pot of Dualities are dead as well, so, you know, that's also something to keep in mind. Now, Full House is a card that has been hyped to fuck recently, and personally I'm not a huge fan of it, but a lot of the pro players are saying, yeah, Full House is really good. I'd have to see how it would work with, you know, testing and shit, but obviously Full House is select 2 face-up spell and trap cards on the field, which is not hard. You know, like there's a lot here that's going to be face-up. Especially, you know, Fiendish Chain as well is another thing, because that would be face-up and the deck plays them as well. So select 2 face-up spell and trap cards and 3 set spell and traps. Now you can hit your own set cards if you really have to, but you know, Fire Fist is quite back row heavy. So yeah, I mean, I think that Full House is quite hard to pull off, but if you do pull it off, then you know you're in for a lot of advantage, even if you're hitting 1 of your cards, and even if you're hitting 3 of your cards, which I wouldn't recommend really. But you know, the issue is that your opponent will know that you're running Full House, so they'll try to play around it. They'll probably just keep the 1 tanky up and try to just bear out as many tankies as they can, and then, you know, do that. So like they'll play the Tensu, play the bear, and then just remove it straight away. You know, I can see that would be a counter to Full House, so there is that. Next we've got Spell Shatter and Arrow. Personally I prefer it because it's kind of like an MST, it does a little bit of damage, and obviously it can hit multiple things. This is just my choice. I would prefer Spell Shatter and Arrow, because although for instance Fairy Wind could also be significantly better, because the Tensin, it's not a huge problem, but it is an issue, and it can also hit the Fiendish Chains that they've got as well, so that would then free up any monsters that they've hit with Fiendish Chain. So you know, Fairy Wind and Spell Shattering I think are good options. Full House is also a good option if, you know, your opponent isn't playing around it, but I feel that that's what's going to happen. Now Malevolent Catastrophe is not a good card, despite what people might think. I initially thought it would be good as well, but really when it comes down to it is, they've already got their effects off. So they've already Fiendish Chain, they've already Tensu'd, they've already Gyokko'd, they've already Tenki'd, and then they attack with the monster, and then you Malevolent Catastrophe. It doesn't matter anymore. Like they've already done what it is they wanted to do with it, so getting rid of it isn't as much of an issue as, you know, it's probably better to MST a Tenki than it is to Malevolent Catastrophe, because that's going to stop their combos. And obviously DNA Surgery is okay against the deck. It just really stops them being able to go into Tiger King. It means that their Tenkis don't get the attack boost, and that's kind of it. DNA Surgery is probably a better option for other side deck choices. I know that DNA Surgery is a good side deck choice in Bujins, because it will fuck up other decks, as well as it means that you could go into, like, you could call Dinosaur and then go into like I can't remember, Doka or Lagi or whatever one is able to protect the DNA Surgery. So yeah. However, that's probably like the best of the side deck choices. I mean, obviously there is other things. You could like Prohibition Wolfbark. If you have Prohibition in your side deck, I'd obviously recommend that, but you know, I like Prohibition, what can I say? I'd say that Prohibition Wolfbark is probably quite good, or in fact Prohibition and Bear is probably the better option. But yeah, so there is that. So that's probably like all the side deck choices. Now the side deck choices that they'll have, this is probably the smallest part of the video. They'll probably go into like, if you're playing Mermails, they'll go into like Macro and Defissure. They'll side in heavily against the mirror match. Obviously, siding in against Bujins, it's kind of the same really, because you know you've got not so much with like Full House or whatever, but you know you've got Mistake, and the main Thunder King will also hurt Bujins quite heavily. Cardinal can also hurt Bujins quite badly as well, so yeah, there is that. But yeah, so I'd say that's probably the end of the video. Hopefully this helped people. I know that this has helped, like all the information that I got for this video definitely helped me. So yeah, I'll try not to make the video any longer, so I'll just end it there, and I'll see you in the next video. I'll be doing a video on all the tier 1 decks, and probably do it with some of the tier 2 decks as well. So hopefully you'll look forward to that. So yeah, I'll see you in the next video guys, bye. Hey guys, remember to subscribe for more deck profiles, matches, box openings, Yu-Gi-Oh discussions and more. A new video up every day, hopefully.